I'm getting ready to leave the trailer, but it just occurred to me for the first time, as slow as I am in coming to realizations like this, that if Bishuasi is in the secret police and she's able to surveil me, she's got to be able to surveil my wife as well. So she's aware that my wife is being mercilessly harassed. She's aware of all of that. Now, if she's a member of the secret police, she's also aware of things that are going on with my wife that I don't know anything about. And one of them could be that it's something I found out within the past year, that an in-law of mine on my wife's side of the family is like a blood relation to the current dictator of North Korea. He is like I can't get this straight, even though my wife has explained it to me several times. He's like a half cousin of this guy, a half first cousin of this dictator, a half first cousin. I think the way this went was the father of that dictator married a sister of this in-law's mother, making that dictator, father of the current dictator, his uncle, his actual uncle. Okay? And so when the current dictator was born to the former dictator by another wife, not that sister, that dictator born to the former dictator, he still has as his father the man who was a direct uncle of the in-law. So therefore, this in-law is a first half cousin of the current dictator of North Korea. So it could be that there are machinations, let's call them, to do with all of that my wife has known about from the time she met me that she never told me. I don't know, okay? I don't know. And, maybe that's why my wife told me way back when we did marry when we got together, that I was not her first choice in terms of a man. I wasn't the kind of man she really wanted. I wasn't. And that's understandable. I am not fluent as a deaf person is in sign language. I'm nowhere near that good. So my wife has had to suffer the difficulties in communications we faced. That I'm just not as good in sign language as she is. I'm nowhere near as good, but that's been tough on her, right? And there's other things to do with that as well. I was considered to have a severe mental disease, even though she couldn't see any evidence of that. And in reality has treated me as if I do have that disease. And so we've suffered the ostracism that goes with that, and everything else that goes with it. The lack of status, the stigma, the crazy uncle status I had in my family for being the crazy uncle, and that crazy uncle status was also in her family, the way they regarded me as the crazy uncle, and she had to live with all of that. She didn't want to marry the crazy uncle, but she did. So I understand all that, right? And so she says I wasn't the man the kind of man she would have wanted to marry, but what did she say? She says quite honestly, and deaf people are honest this way. They ask her, why did you marry this guy? She says, I couldn't find anybody else. She quite honestly answers. Well, if I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say the same thing. I couldn't find anybody else either. So I decided on her. I'm not going to say I settled on her. I thought she was a great catch for somebody like me. I was the lowest of the low in American society, considered to be lower in status than a convicted felon who might have beat somebody or even murdered somebody, and I'm lower in status than somebody like that who's been in prison for crimes. So I considered myself lucky to get a wife, and no, she wasn't what I had in mind, but neither was the life I was in. So if Bishuasi is in the secret police, she may know a lot more about my wife than I know, right? Even after being married to my wife for over 30 years now. She may know certain things about this relationship to the North Korean dictator, which even make her feel like these relatives of mine just used me as a way of escape of their own from Korea. You know, I was thinking I might move to Japan, but I got to say that it was never part of my interest in Bishuasi starting out that I was interested in her as a way to leave the United States. No, that never occurred to me. At that time, I thought it was a sure thing for Italian citizenship, and that when I left the United States, I would live in Italy. I thought that was a sure thing. I did. And so when Bishuasi came along, I was thinking, oh, if we're in a relationship, that means I have two wives. We live in Italy. Great. I didn't think, oh, I'm going to get in a relationship with her so I can leave the United. No, that never was part of anything to do with her. Okay. But it just so happens that I got cheated out of Italian citizenship. And I've said to myself, where am I going to go? If I'm not going to go to Italy, where am I going to go? Well, if this is true about Bishuasi's interest in me, I take it with her, and somehow I live in Japan. But, you know, I don't even like that myself. I don't like the optics of that myself. Okay, but as you can see, I haven't had much choice in optics in my life, having been defrauded of a normal life by liars and cheats in the United States, okay? So, Bishuasi knows things about my wife I don't know. Whatever she knows, if there is something there, I've lived with my wife for over 30 years, and I can say that without my wife, I would not be seated right here where I am now, in this trailer with this house I own, as a retired person who worked long enough to get a retirement and so on. None of this would have happened without my wife. So if somehow as a member of the secret police, Bishuasi is able to know something about my wife that I don't know, or if listening in and surveilling my wife's phone, she finds things objectionable that my wife is doing or saying, to all that I'm going to answer, my wife is what she's done, not what she's saying or implying or seeming to do in communications surveilled by secret police. She is what she's done, and what she's done is what I just said. She's been a faithful, a good, a trustworthy, and loving, as far as that goes, wife. Okay? So, no, I got to say that if Bishuasi is a member of the secret police and she's able to surveil me, she must be able to surveil my wife. So let's take that from a positive point of view now. We just looked at the possible negatives of it. Let's look at the positive point of view and say, she already knows all the things I'm saying, that I'm not going to leave my wife, and she doesn't want me to. Like I said about Bishuasi, it was never my feeling from the start of this whole thing. It was in her mind that she wanted me to leave my wife, to have her included in my marriage. I think she realized from the beginning that I could have two wives. I could effectively have two wives. I don't know how to say that. I'm not going to be a bigamist, break the law, but I could have effectively had the same as if I were married twice. Legally, it might not look that way, but in fact, it would be that way. So I think she realized that from the start. I do. So let's look at this thing positively. She's able to surveil my wife too, so she knows my wife is being relentlessly harassed, and it's been cruel and awful. So when I'm saying I'm not going to leave my wife, I'm wasting my time. She knows all that. She doesn't want me to leave my wife. So now let's review why she drives past the house and doesn't stop. If she's a member of the secret police, okay, obviously they're going to know she's doing that, right? So she could be in a kind of stalemate the way that couple was she had on what I'm calling her website. They were telling the secret police, look, if you don't let us settle down and have something like a normal life, we're going to go to court on this issue, and we think you're going to lose. Also, it'll be very bad optics for the secret police for us to be making a public issue out of this. So it looks like the secret police kind of backed down, but nevertheless, this couple was saying, we don't feel safe here in the United States and we want to leave. So they were in kind of a stalemate, but okay, they were in a precarious stalemate. And if Bishuasi's in a stalemate like that with her employer, the secret police, well, the stalemate has her so she can drive by my house. But that's as much as she can do right now. She's in a stalemate. She's trying to work things out. And as much as she can do right now is drive by my house. It's symbolic moments. She can't do more than that. That's all she can do. So from that point of view, I'm going to keep this thing going. Okay? Obviously, I want this, right? I want this more than anything. I'm willing to almost give up my life for this. I've said before, I'm committing to this. I've committed to this relationship, no matter how far-fetched it sounds, because it's just not worth living my life if something like this doesn't turn out to be true. Okay? You could call this my working fantasy. If I don't have this working fantasy, I might as well not even be alive, because what I got here in this life is so awful. I don't see how I could put one foot in front of another if I had to accept that this is reality is I'm crazy and there's no Bishuasi and all this is a delusion. I don't see how I'd want to continue living if I had to accept that. So my working fantasy is what I'm living for, like a Jew once sets a place at the table for Elia. Elia's going to come. Let's set him a place at the table. One day he's going to show up at the table, okay? He's going to come. And all that means will happen when he comes. Okay? And there are other examples about that kind of belief in other religions, right? So, for me, my working fantasy, I'm not looking forward to Elia coming. Although, I'm not against that, okay? Don't let me get in trouble with my religion. I'm in no way against that, but for me, with the kind of life I've had, you could say my mind is on hoping for that miracle of the Red Sea parting that I read is an expected part of finding your zivug as a Jew. Your zivug, your soulmate, the person you were destined to have as a partner. This is so difficult a dream to realize that it requires a miracle like the parting of the Red Sea that enabled the Hebrews to escape from slavery in Egypt. It requires a miracle that great. So I'm in line with my religion, really, and sitting out here in this trailer hoping for that miracle. I'm not doing anything that's counter to my religion here. I'm right in line with my religion and what it teaches about this kind of experience. So, looking at this whole thing from a positive point of view, I got to say that it's likely to be Bishuasi driving by my house for the reason that there are cameras across the street watching the traffic. Now, that's the only car that's gone by down the street. And I've been out here since 11:30, so let me see what time it is. It's almost 2 a.m. There's a car going by right to left. So it's 49 minutes after 1 a.m. 1949. My parents got married in 1949. There's some meaning to that. I wouldn't know what it is, but that's Bishuasi driving by up there. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know who drove by up there, because if she's in a stalemate with the secret police, and if I really am of interest to the secret police are going to be trying to confuse me the way they always are. So they might be driving by at these moments as if to make sense out of stuff that makes no sense, just to confuse me. So, of course, I don't trust much these cars I see going by Gatewood Place up there, and the intersection of Gatewood Terrace and Gatewood Place. I'm recording these moments, but I don't really think that they're meaningful, as I'm sometimes maybe implying that I do. I don't have any trust in the meaning of those moments. I just don't. So what I have trust in is actually meeting Bishuasi. So somebody drives down my street, it looks like it's her. Because as I say, the cameras across the street are going to record who it is. And if it's secret police, that means there's evidence that they're harassing me. Okay? If they get caught somehow, there's my evidence. All right? So it's not likely to be them. All right? Now, if they murdered me, what would they do? They'd make sure that they went and stole all that footage of cars going down the street. If it was them and not Bishuasi, they'd get in there and mess that all up and say, oh, the camera misfunctioned, or we lost those films, or whatever. That's what they would do. So as far as that goes, that's that. Okay, but they could still screw up. They could still screw up there, and that film get through and somebody find out, no, that was secret police coming down the street, and we think you murdered this guy, and so on. That could happen. So let me go back to the positive interpretation here, that is Bishuasi coming down the street, and that's as much as she can do right now. She, like me, is doing all she can to get together with me, because to her, I am her zivug. Yeah, believe it or not. She likes me that much. oh, this is great. If she, she's got to. She's coming down the street like that. She's got to like me that much, right? So, okay, I'm back on the trail. I'm saying I will probably be coming back here as long as it makes any sense at all. And I'll do what I can to make this work. Anyway, that's all from me for now. For now, I doubt that she'll be back down this street. I doubt it very much. Bye for now. I mean, tonight. Bye for now.